Okay, we really need to talk about one of the most dangerous hidden enemies to your health. I'm talking about a type of fat that builds up deep inside your body. And get this, it can happen even if you look totally thin on the outside. The threat it poses is, well, it's not something we can ignore.
Yeah, you heard that right. This isn't about looking good in a swimsuit. This is literally a matter of life and death. Having too much of this specific type of fat doubles your chances of dying early. So what is this invisible threat we're talking about? The culprit is something called visceral fat, and it basically operates in stealth mode, silently damaging your health from the inside out. A lot of people have never even heard of it, but it's wreaking havoc inside their bodies right now. So here's the key thing to understand. We are not talking about the fat that's right under your skin. You know, the stuff you can pinch. No. Visceral fat is that deep internal fat that actually wraps itself around your vital organs, like your liver and your intestines. And this is so important. You can be lean, you can look perfectly healthy, and still be carrying a dangerous amount of it. They're sometimes called metabolically unhealthy lean people. So, how in the world does this one type of fat cause so much damage? Well, it's because it's not just sitting there. It's an active and frankly hostile agent inside your body. I want you to think of visceral fat as a rogue organ. It's constantly pumping out these inflammatory molecules, basically creating this state of chronic low-grade inflammation all through your body. This toxic environment is so dangerous, it can increase your risk of developing metastatic cancer. That's the kind that spreads by a staggering 44%. And one of its most destructive moves is causing something called insulin resistance. Let's break it down with an analogy. Imagine your insulin is a taxi driver. Its job is to pick up glucose or sugar from your blood and drop it off at your cells for energy. Simple, right? Well, visceral fat is like a massive roadblock. It's constantly releasing these fatty acids that block the insulin taxis from doing their job. So the glucose passengers get stranded in your bloodstream, causing a huge traffic jam. Your body panics and sends out way more insulin taxis to try to clear it up, and all of that chaos eventually leads to a huge blood sugar crash. So what does that whole cycle feel like in your real life? Well, it's that constant tiredness. It's the brain fog. It's that afternoon slump where you have absolutely zero energy, and suddenly you get these intense cravings for something sugary. Over time, this whole battle just exhausts your body's system, and it paves the way for type 2 diabetes. Okay, so if this fat is so dangerous, we have to know what makes it grow. What are we doing that's feeding this hidden enemy? The answer might actually surprise you. Let's look at one really interesting study. The key number I want you to remember is 11%. That's how much more of this dangerous, deep belly fat a group of totally healthy people gained in a really short amount of time. So what caused this crazy 11% spike? It wasn't a junk food binge. It was just 2 weeks of sleeping only 4 hours a night. And here is the truly alarming part. Their weight on the scale didn't change at all. Not one bit. Their body composition was shifting in the most dangerous way possible, all because of bad sleep. Now, of course, sleep isn't the only factor. Being in a constant caloric surplus, especially from all those processed high-sugar foods, is a huge contributor. Chronic stress, man, that acts like an amplifier, messing with your hormones and basically telling your body to store fat around your organs. And yeah, the classic beer belly is a real thing. Excess alcohol is a direct pipeline to gaining more visceral fat. Okay, that was a lot of bad news. I get it. We've identified the enemy, we know its tactics. But now for the really good news. We have a clear, effective battle plan to take it down. And here is the absolute best news of all. This enemy might be formidable, but it has a huge weakness. When you start making the right changes to your diet, to your exercise, visceral fat is often the very first type of fat your body decides to burn for energy. You can see results, and you can see them fast. All right, your first weapon is vigorous aerobic exercise. We're talking running, cycling, swimming, anything that really gets that heart rate up. This kind of activity forces your body to use more calories, and it directly targets those visceral fat stores for fuel. It's so powerful, it can even help counteract the damage from a few nights of bad sleep. Weapon number 2 is all about being strategic with how you eat. Now, tools like intermittent fasting can be incredibly effective, not because of some weird magic, but because they give you a really simple framework for creating a caloric deficit. By limiting your eating window, you just naturally tend to eat less, and that forces your body to tap into its fat reserves, starting with that visceral fat. And finally, our third weapon is defense. This is all about protecting your body from common chemicals that can mess with your hormones and actually encourage fat storage. You can make some super simple but powerful swaps right in your own kitchen. Like ditching those black plastic takeout containers for glass ones, or swapping your nonstick pans for stainless steel. These are small changes that can have a huge impact. And here's a wild one for you. Those shiny thermal paper receipts you get at the store, they are literally coated in the endocrine-disrupting chemical BPA. The takeaway is simple. Whenever you have the option, just ask for an email receipt. It's such an easy habit, and it cuts down your daily toxic load.
So, why are we fighting this battle? What's the point? It's not just about avoiding disease. It's about aiming for something way more inspiring. The ultimate prize here is maximizing what's called your peak span. So, what exactly is peak span? It's the idea of living as many years as possible within 90% of your peak physical and mental function. Just think about that. It's about maintaining your strength, your energy, and your sharpest thinking for as long as you possibly can.
Look, lifespan is just about living longer. Health span is about living longer without disease, which is great. But peak span, that's the real goal. That's living not just free from illness, but full of vitality and functioning at your absolute highest capacity. And defeating visceral fat, that is a foundational step on that journey.
So, you have the intelligence, you have the strategy, and now you have the weapons. The enemy is identified, and its weaknesses are exposed. The only question left is, which part of the battle plan are you going to put into action first?